Oh, thank you all for tuning in to another edition of Outside the Shop with me, your host, Daryl D. Lane. As always, I want to thank you all for tuning in a bunch of different platforms. And as I'm trying something new out today, I'm trying the streaming service out, and I should be streaming to Facebook, Periscope / Twitter, and YouTube. So I'll see how that goes. And as always, you can check out my sports podcast, Barbershop Sports Talk, on iTunes, Stitcher, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Spotify, iHeartRadio, SoundCloud, the whole deal. So here is what we have today for the show. Philip Rivers, is he a Hall of Famer? Alabama. The program has some news with Mac Jones and with offensive coordinator hirings. And also Andy Reid praises Patrick Mahomes. Praises Brett Bieniemy, and Andy Reid also gives some little tidbits about potentially what's going on with Patrick Mahomes. Jim Harbaugh makes some comments about Lamar Jackson, and we have a little bit of Karl Malone / Zion Williamson beef. So let's start with this. Philip Rivers, retired today. Is Philip Rivers a Hall of Famer? To me, he is not. Philip Rivers is not a Hall of Famer, and here's the reason why. Was Philip Rivers ever a top 5 quarterback in his era? No. The top 5 quarterbacks in his era were these 5 guys: Tom Brady, Peyton Manning, Drew Brees, Ben Roethlisberger, Aaron Rodgers. You could also put Brett Favre in there. I think a guy that overlapped in there as well, Kurt Warner, Russell Wilson overlapped in there, Cam Newton overlapped in there from when he was drafted 2004, I think, all the way to 2000. Let's go a decade, 2014. Was he ever considered a top 5 quarterback? No, he was never considered a top 5 quarterback. And you want to know what? Here's the thing. If we put Philip Rivers in the Hall of Fame, then why not put Matt Ryan in the Hall of Fame? Why not put Matthew Stafford in the Hall of Fame? I know Philip Rivers has great stats. This is now a passing league in the NFL. It's a lot easier to put up stats. He never even won the playoffs. Never even won the playoffs. I think he has 3 playoff wins in his career. 3. I can get it if you want to put Eli in, right? You're going to say Eli, he beat the big bag boogeyman, Bill Belichick, Tom Brady twice in Super Bowls. Okay, fine. But Philip Rivers, no. Philip Rivers had a great career, a career to be respected, a career to be in awe of. Not a lot of guys can say they played 10 to 15 years of high-level NFL football at the quarterback position, but he's not a Hall of Famer. Listen, do I need to ask you if Peyton Manning's a Hall of Famer? No. You just say yes. Tom Brady, Hall of Famer? Yes. Drew Brees, a Hall of Famer? Yes. Charles Woodson, Hall of Famer? Yes. Ray Lewis, Hall of Famer? Yes. If you have to think if he's a Hall of Famer, he's probably not a Hall of Famer. Never even won a league MVP as well. So that's my thoughts on Philip Rivers. Now let's get to the Kansas City Chiefs. Patrick Mahomes seems to be passing all the concussion protocol tests. Andy Reid said today that Patrick Mahomes took some snaps. Here's the deal, folks. Patrick Mahomes is going to play. I've had some people tell me, I was talking to my friend Silas, and he was like, he might still have a concussion. But whether you think he has a concussion or not, Patrick Mahomes is playing. There's no way he's going to miss this game against the Buffalo Bills on Sunday for the AFC Championship game. He is going to play. Now, next up, we have Andy Reid, who kind of gushes about Brett Bieniemy. For those who don't know who Brett Bieniemy is, he's the offensive coordinator of the Kansas City Chiefs, and kind of just talks about how he's a leader, how he's gotten better. Kind of gives all this coach speak. He's trying to hype up his guy. And the reason I think he's doing this is because Eric Bieniemy for the last 2 years has been linked heavily to being a potential NFL head coach. And it hasn't worked out. It looks right now that he's going to be with the Chiefs as the OC for another year. He's not going to get a job. There's still the Philadelphia Eagles who have a job. There's also the Houston Texans. I don't know if the Philadelphia Eagles are going to go in the direction of a Brett Bieniemy, and I don't think the I don't think the Houston Texans, I don't think that's a desirable job for Brett Bieniemy, right? What's going on with Deshaun Watson doesn't make any sense. So Brett Bieniemy, sad to say, could be an offensive coordinator again and not a head coach. John Harbaugh makes the comments that you can win with a run-heavy offense, right? People have been criticizing Lamar right after he struggled against the Buffalo Bills. I've even mentioned this. The whole postseason has not thrown a passing touchdown. Think about that. MVP of the league has not thrown a passing touchdown, and he's a quarterback, not a running back. Jim Harbaugh says it can work in the NFL. It can work. And I'm skeptical. I think we've seen there is a limit to what Lamar Jackson can do as a passer. Yes, Lamar is extremely talented. Yes, he can improve. But when your quarterback is going to rush it 15 to 20 times a game, there's a ceiling. There's a ceiling. Because eventually teams are going to do like the Bills, that they're going to put 8 guys in the box and say, hey, beat us. Beat us. And when that happens, you got to throw it over the top. You have to throw it over the top. So I would disagree with John Harbaugh. I do not think it works. I do not think an NFL run-heavy offense works in the NFL. We've even seen with teams like Derrick Henry, who have a running back / quarterback with Ryan Tannehill, Derrick Henry, Tennessee Titans. That doesn't even work. And let alone with a quarterback, I just think it makes it one-dimensional, and that's never good in the NFL. So Mac Jones, quarterback out of Alabama, who just declared for the NFL draft, got the Manning Award as the best college quarterback this year. Isn't it crazy to think, if I told you last year, after he came in for Tua Tagovailoa, that he would have got the Manning Award and been recognized as the best college quarterback over guys like Trevor Lawrence, Justin Fields, a bevy of different guys. And we'd be talking about Mac Jones being a potential first-round pick. You would think it is crazy. That is just what Alabama does, folks. And speaking of that, what Alabama does, Nick Saban hires Doug Marrone, former Buffalo Bills head coach, also former head coach of the Jacksonville Jaguars, as the new OC. I think this is a little bit less to be desired personally. I think they could have done better with Doug Marrone. I would have personally rather seen a Bill O'Brien with the Alabama Crimson Tide. That's what I would have liked to see. But, Bill O'Brien, but Doug Marrone, solid coach. Obviously, you're going to have all this talent. We saw guys like Devontae Smith, who were like a 4th-string wide receiver when he was a freshman, right? He was going to have the talent. He's going to have the recruiting. It's going to be impossible for Doug Marrone not to mess this up. But I would have preferred maybe a little bit more spicier hires. And lastly, Karl Malone says this about Zion. Take some shots. You know what Karl Malone says? He came on a podcast and he said, Zion needs to be averaging like 40 minutes a game. You're 21 years old, kid. Shouldn't be getting tired. For those of you who don't know, Zion, there was a minutes restriction last year, right, with Zion. He had a little bit of a minutes restriction also. Has not been playing anywhere close to 40 minutes a game this year with the New Orleans Pelicans. Karl Malone is one of the Ironmen of the NBA. Always played, never missed games. Super tough, super durable. And I think this comes to the question when we talk about Zion, right? We need to think about this. How can you be the franchise and you can't play 40 minutes a game? 82 games a year. How can you be the franchise? LeBron James plays all these games. Kobe Bryant played all these games. Kevin Durant played. Steph Curry played. Kawhi Leonard, we criticize Kawhi. Kawhi doesn't always play all the time, especially at this young of age. Zion needs to be out there. I think that's how you get better. That's how you develop. And it doesn't look like that is going on. So I get what Karl Malone's saying. I don't think this is just a typical old man, get off my lawn. I think there's some value to this. And that is all we have for this edition of Outside the Shop. Also, if you guys want to check out my latest sports podcast, Barbershop Sports Talk, which I said can be found on Spotify, iTunes, Stitcher, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts. I had my friend Silas Garrison on. Silas gave his NBA predictions to look out for. Also, we talked a little bit about the Mets, a little controversy with the GM. Silas had a very interesting and different take on that situation if you want to hear about that as well. And I had Chris Milholland, who covers the Brooklyn Nets for the Nets Daily. And we talked about Kevin Durant, James Harden, Kyrie Irving, all that good stuff, and got into all that detail, all that minutia, all that good stuff. So everybody, thank you for tuning into this episode of Outside the Shop. Have a great day and God bless.